us the way.
Good morning, and happy Saturday. I am Kimberly Holmes Ross with Evanston Cradle to Career, where we work with over 40 partner agencies to bring you the most equitable Evanston. And we are here this morning on Radio La Difference, our platform. So, good morning, Mr. Man. We enjoy being here so much every Saturday. We're also here with the advocates. Good morning, advocates. And this morning we have special guests, as every Saturday, but special guests. Our special guests this morning are from Citizens for Greener Evanston. We're here to talk about environmental justice. We're here to learn about how we need to care for our earth. I am so excited because I know I have a lot to learn. And I know if we're trying to have an equitable Evanston, we need some environmental justice. We need to learn about this, to know about what we can do to help in this effort. So we are going to jump right into it. We're going to start with Rachel Rosner, who is a part of the group, and she's going to tell us not only about the group, but what we need to do. So good morning, Rachel. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Hi, Kim. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to have to ask you about that beautiful song later. What a great way to start. And hi, advocates. Nice to meet you all. So I'm Rachel Rosner. I'm a lifelong Evanstonian, Washington Chute, ETHS class of 83. My kids also came up here, and also I'm a Leadership Evanston alum. And my background is in education. I was a teacher and a naturalist at a local nature center, and connecting kids and nature is really my passion. It's what I love to do. I ran the school garden at Washington and a Girl Scout troop of 27 girls that lasted from 1st to 7th grade with a couple of friends. So caring about kids and nature, as I learned more about the climate crisis, I weighed heavy on me. And so when I had the opportunity, I took a climate reality training with Al Gore, which is a free thing. Anybody can do Climate Reality Project. And that started me on the path to where I am now, the president of Citizens Greener Evanston, which is a umbrella organization for several other great groups in town. So our mission is to create a more environmentally just, sustainable, and resilient Evanston. And in 2018, Evanston passed a historic climate action and resilience plan. We were the first city in Illinois to do that, and the 100th in the nation. So it's a big deal. And so CGE is now super focused on implementing this plan. And equity is quite central to the plan as well. We're an umbrella group for several organizations and committees. Edible Evanston, which is about garden education, they actually facilitated the donation of 1,300 pounds of fresh produce to food pantries this year. Natural Habitat Evanston is about preserving biodiversity, which is really important. Also, Evanston's large trees, which are really important in the face of the climate crisis in terms of both sucking carbon out to reduce climate change, but also cooling and cleaning the air and drinking up floodwater, as we're already seeing impacts of climate change and extreme heat and flooding. So that's Natural Habitat Evanston. Go Evanston is about mobility, making sure it's a pedestrian friendly, bike friendly, and a public transit friendly community for everyone. And they're currently working on, with the city, on the stretch of Church between Dodge and McCormick, planning out some improvements there. So that's exciting. Beyond Waste is a group that runs the repair clinic at YOU. So they get volunteers who know how to fix anything from a skirt to a bike to a chair, and they teach people these skills. So we're such a throwaway society, and as we learn to fix things and keep them, that's a great environmental boost. And we're also, that organization is working on kind of a zero waste plan for the city. And there's Watershed Collective that is about making sure everyone has safe drinking and knows it, also protecting and the lakefront and making sure everyone has access, which is an issue in Evanston. The whole beach token thing, we're talking about. And then that floodwater piece is also part of their work. And then we have an energy committee that's doing a lot of great work around transitioning to renewable energy, which includes, there's a community solar company that CGE is partnering with, where they will donate $75 to Evanston Community Foundation's Rapid Response Fund for every new subscriber. So I signed up, and actually your ComEd bill goes down if you sign up for community solar. And I got to go visit this solar farm out by Rockford. And it was really exciting to see. So you're creating jobs in Illinois. You're actually helping the farmers who have financial issues themselves. It's a lot of good being done with that stuff. And then energy efficiency is the other piece where that's good for the planet and good for your wallet that group is doing. And then Environmental Justice Evanston, which passed a resolution this year, which is a huge win. And that's been Janet's focus for years. And through that, I connected with her, and I feel like she's really mentoring me in ensuring that CGE is focused on equity and anti-racism in all of our work. So beyond that environmental justice piece, understanding how strong that intersection is between sustainability and equity in all things, and making sure that we're a welcoming community and organization.
So that's a lot of work, Rachel.
I just point to the people.
That's a lot of work. And I said, a member, you're the president. So thank you so much for being here with us. I'm always so impressed that Evanston is right on the forefront, first in Illinois, 100th in the nation. We are always right there answering the call. And Ms. Davis, I'm so glad that you are making sure that we all are answering the call, or even know about the call. And as far as equity is concerned. So I'm gonna pass it to you and let you tell us how we can do better and what we can do to make sure that all of our community is informed and involved and in being able to be a part of these initiatives.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, advocates.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning to everyone. Kim, love you, Kim. Rachel, loving and getting to know you. Glad that I'm here with you today to talk about Environmental Justice Evanston, of which I am a member. We're a small group, kind of, to me, it's the little train that could. A smaller group of people have come together years ago to fight the fact that there was a garbage dump in the middle of a Black neighborhood. I know we're African American, but I came in your ages, probably in the 60s and the 70s, and I felt more comfortable referring to myself as Black. Environmental Justice Evanston, I'll also refer to that as EJE. We are a working committee under the umbrella of Rachel's organization, and glad to be there. They've been very, very supportive. She has come in as president like gangbusters. And I said to myself, when I started reading some of the things she was doing, I said, who is this lady? I want to see her, I am born and raised in Evanston. I've lived in the 5th Ward for 64 years of my 77 years. So I've been on what was at one time the Black side of town. I was in nonprofit for over 20 years. I am a licensed realtor for 30 some years. I still am licensed, and I've worked in a lot of areas in terms of volunteering, especially in the 60s and the 70s. But environmental justice, what does that mean? It means that all community members should experience the same degree of access to environmental assets, have protection from environmental hazards and health risks, and play an effective role in making decisions that affect the quality of life in this community. And I think that's one of the things that bothers me the most is we're not, meaning Black people, brown people, some of us that don't get out, maybe low income, don't have the money to participate in a lot of activity in Evanston. And we have to hold each other up, and we all do what we can do. But what I want to talk about is an area that I don't see a lot of us in it. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted to come and be a part of Rachel being here today. Um, Environmental Justice Evanston, as I said, is a working committee under the Citizens Greener Evanston. So it's an umbrella group, and she named some of the different groups that are under it. And so if you didn't hear anything that, wet your whistle there, just keep listening, because I didn't think I would ever be involved in environmental. I don't think that I took seriously how important our trees are, and the kind of not only shade, but places for the animals. I got sick, about 12 years ago, and I was flat on my back off and on for the next 10 years. And I started to watch the squirrels that would run up and down the tree, and I learned about their community. And that's what really has said to me, I've got to come out as a Black person and share with others, trying to remind us maybe we didn't understand how much our lives are affected by the environment and the decisions that are made by those that are at the table. We're not always at the table. The reason I really got involved with this many years ago was the waste transfer station is what it's called now, but years ago it was called active service. It was a garbage dump in the middle of a neighborhood. It's at Darrell and Church Street. And so, as you know, there is the church in Dodge business area. The high school is there. Mason Park is there, where, as you know, in the summertime, it is full. Stuff is happening over there. And yet it's a garbage dump right there. So I knew that active service was a a family-owned business there. They hired lots and lots of Black people from our community. And so the fact that things smelled all the time, where you could go past there and would have to hold your breath, I didn't know we could do anything about it, nor I didn't think I saw it as something that should not be allowed to happen there. Initially, the business, as I said, was a garbage dump, but it was sold many years ago to international companies, and I think several international companies have owned it since. Then things changed. Then it became something called a transfer station, meaning that smaller trucks come down Church Street going east 6 days a week. They're dripping stuff from the back of the truck onto our sidewalks, on our streets, and in our environment, and we don't know what they're bringing in. We know what we're told they can only bring in, but we really don't know what's being transferred here in our community. The waste being processed now is coming from outside of Evanston, and it's difficult to know exactly what the waste is. No longer are jobs part of the community. I don't know, maybe a couple of people might work out of that particular facility, but it affects air pollution, bad odor, rodents, noise and vibrations, idling of a diesel truck. How would you like to live next door to that, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning when you want to sleep? And then just the increased track of truck traffic on Church Street. Let me stop a second and say, I want to talk about Flint, Michigan, and then I want to get to some local examples of EJ, otherwise environmental justice. Many of you may know about Flint and the drinking water there and the horrible, horrible situation they have been going through for years. So many people have, rented trucks and taken water, bottled water to them over these last few years. And yet today, it's still the same situation. They cannot drink their water. So I started thinking about environmental things once I started getting involved and meeting people like Rachel and others. And I remember I had children starting in 1961. And back then I wasn't able to breastfeed. And so I had formula that was dry that you mix with water. And I started to think about, what if I had Flint's water? and my kids would be drinking their formula with that water in it. Okay, their behavior might change. They have learning problems because of the lead in water from the pipes, lower IQ, hyperactivity. They have a slow growth pattern. Hearing problems and anemia are just some of the things that they say happen to children that have had a problem because lead was introduced in their diet. So with that said, if any of you that have children and any of you that can think on that, if you give your baby some water in a bottle or a glass, is our water okay? The city of Evanston does test the water, they say, but there are also other groups that you can get involved with to even take a survey on what your feelings are about water here in Evanston. Like I used to go to the lake and swim, but almost every summer you can't go swimming because at some point the beaches stopped and shut down because something's wrong with the lake water. That's where we get our water from. It goes to a filtering place on Howard, I think, in McCormick. However, we should know about our water. We must be at the table to help make these decisions that are fair and equitable, especially in our community. Environmental Justice Evanston fought to get the city to use fees collected from the waste transfer station operation. A few years ago, one of those companies that was an international company, I don't believe cares one rat about us, but they, came into this community and that's affecting our air. We wanted a noise study and we wanted to know how our soil was doing. This company sued the city when the city increased how much their fees were going to cost to bring trash into Evanston. And so they sued the city. Eventually, the city settled with them, and I don't appreciate when and how they handled that, but over $1 million was collected in fees. We at Evanston and on my committee had to fight long and hard to get them to at least spend about $400,000 in doing an air study of that plant. Shouldn't we know if anything is hazardous that is hurting the people that are in walking distance? We should know that. Now we've had the study last year. There was a 6-month study. However, it's a very technical report that was submitted to us. Now I have to say the city has written a letter to Illinois EPA to ask them for help. Because day after day after day, we don't know what's happening to our environment there. And yet we're now still waiting on the state to respond back to us. Now, that our current government in Washington changed a lot of EPA national. So I don't know if our local Illinois site also was affected by the terrible decisions that have been made in the last 4 years. There's another local issue that we've had called in a neighborhood on Ashland off of Church. It's called Tape Co. It's a coating factory located on Ashland. It was putting out bad odor in the neighborhood. And so the Smith neighbors are a group of people that banded together to start asking some questions. Why do we have headaches? Why are we having some physical ailments? And we keep complaining about it, but nobody does anything about it. They finally started writing letters to the city and to the state, and eventually TAPECO agreed to stop the process that was causing the odor. One last thing I want to bring to your attention is in 1995 in Chicago, didn't happen here, but that's when we had that heat wave. You remember that? And in Chicago, over 739 elderly residents died, either in their beds at home or on the street because of a heat wave that tore us all up. If we don't have a fan and we don't have air conditioning and we don't have the income that can put us in an apartment or a home that has air or a fan, people died. People died and people died. So with that, it's called environmental injustices, actually. So there is an excellent movie called Cooked: Survival by Zip Code. Cooked: Survival by Zip Code. And I recommend that you watch to see how many minority and low income were ignored and died during extremely hot weather. I'm going to now say to you, and I'm rushing through, EJ resolution, which Rachel alluded to, it was led by our group responsible for the adoption of the EJ resolution by the City Council on September 14, 2020. That was a milestone. We worked for over 3 years in order to get that done. The resolution was drafted after extensive solicitation of input from aldermen, former aldermen, the Evanston Environment Board, the Equity and Empowerment Commission, the Community Development, the Sustainability Department of the City of Evanston, and Evanston citizens. The EJ ordinance is currently working on a comprehensive EJ ordinance that will involve changes to the city code. So in September, that was a resolution that the city council okayed, but that has no teeth in it. So a lot of times, folks, we have to watch. Things sound so good, but it has no teeth in it. It's like the current president talks about those executive orders that he signs. A lot of times that has nothing other than it sounds good, but it has no teeth in it, and it won't work and it won't be done. It will also require the creation and use of what they call a GIS, a geographic information system, a mapping tool to assist EJ related decisions by the city. And second, an EJ impact assessment form to identify potential EJ issues in new projects and current conditions. We have done other things in addition to working on EJ policy for the city of Evanston. EJE has done extensive advocacy on behalf of the neighborhood around the church waste transfer station, as I said before. So I could go on and on with more to talk about this little engine that could, but I wish that you would consider being and coming and joining us on this train as we make changes. Environmental Justice Evanston meets monthly, the third Monday at 5:30. As you know, we're meeting virtually. It's fun in a way. Come join us. We need a youthful perspective badly to help us to do the right thing. There's also, hopefully you received a one-page summary of the show so that the links, that recent articles and roundtable, you can hear and read more about our organization. So we love you as a group because I know some of the things that you do, and I smile every time I hear your name. Thank you very much for listening.
Oh, Ms. Davis, thank you, and congratulations on the resolutions that have passed. And thank you for giving a voice to those who may think, thought they didn't have voice to say, this, I don't want this in my neighborhood. This shouldn't be going on in my neighborhood. I grew up in the Fifth Ward, playing in Mason Park, up on Church, all the time. And it was just a dump. And never thought anything other than it's just a dump. I guess it's supposed to be here. And you never think about those consequences down the road, or that you have voice and say in those matters. So I am really excited. I had a million questions, but I see Glenn nodding his head the whole time, so I know he has something for you. I'm gonna go to Glenn first.
Hello, everyone. Janet, I feel your pain. You know, um, we've been at opposite ends, and I was part of a group that was fighting for environmental justice. And in my experience, what I found was that the corporation of Evanston uh, puts profit over people. every single time. Um, as an example, when they did the water pump
Yeah.
station across the street from my house, they violated every single law that you can ever imagine. We met with Congress people. We went to the Water Reclamation District. We looked at their comprehensive land remediation program, and it fell on deaf ears. When they tore that building down, the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency told that school that they had to close, okay, because of asbestos. They had friable asbestos in there. When they tore the building down, they did a mock makeup of how they were going to conceal all the dust. And then they had unskilled laborers shoveling the stuff up and putting it in open bed um, trailers and stuff like that and hauling it out. When the city was called, they were over there shaking hands, drinking coffee, and had these people spraying water to keep the dust down. When we went to try to get soil samples from the water and the asbestos, they were out there bright and early at 5 o'clock in the morning, scraping the top layers of that soil all the way down to the canal. So we could not get any samples. They took about maybe 18 inches off the top.
Well, I guess I
'Cause-
want to ask, what can we do in those cases when residents are feeling like they're not heard? So, because that
yeah,
sounds like you guys felt like you weren't heard.
well, we were
Rachel,
heard. It was just that there was no action. We live in a black community of seniors, handicapped, and immigrants, people who own their own homes. Okay, this is a different segment. We have the oldest block club in the city of Evanston that's still functioning, that everybody in the block club advocates for something. And these aren't people, this is not their first rodeo, but we're fighting a different engine.
So Rachel or Janet, what do we? I'm going to let you guys tackle a piece of that. It was a big piece of cake, so just a little bite of that cake.
Let me say something because hi, Glenn. Glenn and I are both in the West End Area Block Club, great block club since 1966. And your mother, Alderman Holmes, might check me on that date because I have one date and I think there's another date, but it's that long ago. And so I was with him during the water project that was a very upsetting part that I think there are, we have neighbors that are still angry. And one of the reasons that, Glenn, if you remember, I said to you that I was working on a committee that hopefully some things might change, that more people would be at the table, that community engagement is so necessary. And that's part of some of the ordinances that we will be working on now. I don't know if it'll ever be perfect, but I know that we were mistreated, in my opinion. And I have to, lift up Glenn and some of the other neighbors that took it even further. He listed some of the things that he could do. So what I would say is, come join us, come be a part of what we're doing, or start your own group and get under the umbrella of CGE. Maybe that's another function, because maybe more advocacy in a way that's not being provided now.
We
That
know,
sounds great.
for Rachel, I just wanted to let you know, during our whole protest of this thing, we looked at water samples that were given, okay,
Tap water or from the canal.
from the canal.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was Durkin and some other people came out, and we looked at the water samples and the soil samples that they took from Emerson Street all the way down to Howard. For some reason, that was the worst water samples that you will ever see in the city. But it was highly different when you went to Lincoln and over there by High Temple, where the flow is different, the water clarity is different. There's different sediments in the water, and nobody was able to get a hold of that comprehensive study of exactly what it was that they found, why the water changed.
So Rachel, are those available, those kind of studies? Because I want to get to one more question before we.
Yes, and so that makes me think about Watershed Collective, and I'd be happy to tap you into them for sure, because I think that, and but also thinking about the ordinance that Janet is talking about and that whole piece about it having teeth, it feels like that could help in a situation like what you're describing if there were some really concrete consequences. I like to think, and sometimes I'm a little idealistic, but I like to think that having an ordinance with teeth could really make a difference.
And we do have to think in those terms, and getting to the table. I think Ms. Davis was very clear about that. We can't be a part of the discussion and the decisions if we're not at the table. So that's what I'm hoping this platform provides, to encourage and empower people to become a part of these groups. We're going to make sure in the comments, Ms. Davis and Rachel, that we leave the information about meeting times and about different links that people can read.
Mm-hmm.
I was really interested that you guys, the environmental piece is a part of food insecurity and fresh produce. I love that. I do know that in Evanston, the Fifth Ward has the Fifth Ward Grows program with the Foster Agriculture program with Chef Q. That's the one I know about. So I didn't know about the others that you mentioned. But Trina, did you have a question?
No, I didn't have a question, but I do want to thank you, Miss Davis and Rachel, for the information. I think I am one of many people who don't know much about this, but am very it's always in the back of my mind or forefront of my mind. And I'm a teacher, so I try to also teach my students about this. So it's great to get the information and to even spark something in my brain to want to keep researching, keep finding out and spreading the word. So thank you for being here and providing us with this information.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, we so appreciate it. And like I said, we have one Mother Earth, and we have to take care of her. And I know we have to do a better job. I don't feel as a country, so not just Evanston, that we've done a great job, but as a whole country that or the world, that we have to take better care of our earth. And I love for not only our group to get involved, but our student group to get involved. They'll be here longer than us, so we want to make sure that they have things in place that will make this not only a more equitable Evanston, but a more equitable world. Marquise, T, do you guys, or Demita, do you guys have anything before we get off the air this morning? Our time goes so fast. Everybody's good. I learned.
Let me say just one quick thing. Sure. It is true that youth have to get involved, because we're making laws and rules they have to live under. I'm 77. I don't know how much more time. So this is really important. They have to be at the table.
And we're going to get them there. We have a whole group of student advocates that we're working with, and we will definitely make this a part of some of the projects that they're working on. So I'm super excited this morning. I learned a lot this morning. Saturday morning, I got my learning cap, my thinking cap on. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the advocates. Radio Difference, Mr. Mann, we appreciate you as usual. Citizens for Greener Evanston, environmental justice, thank you. Enjoy your Saturday. Everybody be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
listening to Evanston Cradle to Career Advocates for Actions on Radio La Difference. Please tune in again next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another show.